Salute. Peace and power. Peace and power. I thank the universal truth and the absolute laws of nature for guiding me, protecting me, and giving me the strength to endure the imperfect. I shall attack with vigor, making progressive moves. A divine mind knows, a divine mind shows. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. Peace and power to the people that struggle. Salute, salute, salute. Peace and power to the universal people of strength and truth. Salute, salute, salute. As you enter the space, please know that it is a safe space, that you are encouraged to be intelligent, that you are encouraged to dialogue, to question, to answer, to speak, to engage with one another. Please know that you are loved. Revolution is love inspired. Do know that. Okay? As my classroom assistants enter the space, please keep the green screen information in throughout the duration of the build. Please keep it in the chat. Please keep all contact information for all services in the chat. As you can see on the East Coast, it is rather late in the evening. West Coast, this is evening. Decent evening time for you all out there. Yes. So I know you will be enjoying this. There were several people in the tribe, in the class, that reached out to me once the hours began to pass. Hey, no class today? You going in on somebody today? Or you going to build today? And I usually respond rather quickly. But today was so busy, so hectic. There was so much going on that I didn't respond. And then the hours became later and later, and they dragged on into the evening. 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30. And then I got a message from my day one. He like, yo, ain't no class today? And then I noticed something. That was the second time that someone who was very, very dear to me, who I know, again, my day ones, I know for 30, 40 years. That was the second time that someone that close to me was asking about what I do on YouTube and look forward to it. So I said, whoa, hold up. I got to get on and speak. Walaikum assalam. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you? So I had to come on. Now, I really didn't have a specific space. I really didn't have a specific space or topic to build on because of what transpired today. Okay? I didn't have the television on. I wasn't looking at the phone. I did several chores today. Several, right? Uh, Had to go get something checked out today physically. Um, but between yesterday and today, there were several people in class, and there were several people, right, who received services from me that are going through some very, very heavy, very, very difficult times. And it's trending, right? It's trending. And it's ironic that we're using that terminology for uh, for the definition or to define us when we're going through it, or when something is repetitive or is uh, galvanizing and gaining the attention of a bunch of people at the same time. There are so many people going through it that it is trending. However, no one is speaking on it. Uh, there's a lot of people wearing these masks on social media because that's what it's become. It's become a showcase. Uh, People are using social media as a surface, sort of one-sided mirror. And they're putting these faces on, and they're painting these lifestyles, and they're giving you this setting. And the setting is false, just like a Hollywood setting, just like a television studio setting. These settings are false. And when they leave the set and take off the masks, the reality of their situation hits them. And there are many people who make an attempt to remain in the set, remain in costume, and they get humbled by life, by real life. And when I tell you, I mean, no less than 12 people in the class, no less than 12 right now are grieving. Right now, I've been hit within the last 3 days. Now that's 12 people that's in this class. Just in this class, not to mention the 5 or 6 others who are in the community that are my peers or that I've watched grow up, that are going through people close to them, family members transitioning. Heavy, 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 as I explained yesterday. Uh, there's a young woman who just buried her grandmother, and her brother took his own life. And not that there is an easy way to take your own life, to transition, but there are some very, very, very traumatic ways for the community. And the worst way is to just jump off a roof, because we're all affected to that. That's the type of things that make the news, right? And in my space, I have to talk to that. I have to speak to that. I have to be a resource for the individuals in my community who you may not see, who may not be in the class, who may not be active consistently in the chat, whether it's here or Instagram or Facebook. But trust, they very dear. They have my personal number. And these are individuals where everything that I know, all of my energy has to be poured in those directions because that's home base, right? These are the people who saw me before I was ever a presentation on any social media platform, right? So yeah, there's about 5 or 6 of them. Not to mention those who are clients, right? Those who get services, people going through it. And there are no surefire methods when you are dealing with anybody who is grieving. I don't care if you have PhDs. I don't care if you've been practicing 30 years. There is no surefire strategy, technique, model to use when people are grieving. It's just no way. Because everybody processes every bit of information differently. Everybody is affected by it differently, right? We can have siblings raised in the same house, eat off the same spoons and plates, and drink from the same cups, get beat with the same belts, and have very different perceptions of the parenting and the life within the family structure. I'm telling you, you have siblings that came up in the same environment. One become a custody, one becomes a doctor. One becomes a stripper, one becomes a educator. How people process information and nurturing is very different. So when we're dealing with trauma, when we're dealing with grieving, when we're dealing with transitions, right, of loved ones, there is no surefire method. But the best way to deal with anyone is to be sincere, empathetic, and encouraging. So I was dealing with this for the last 2 days. For the last 2 days. Consistently. So I said, no, I fall back. Nobody wanted, it's not a big thing to continuously be present every night, right? With a class, with Jules, with an analytical view, with pushing a liberation platform. Because without us being mentally fit, we can never wage war. It's impossible. It's impossible. Impossible. Which is why I always speak in the terms and in that manner in which I speak. Because again, I can put any book in front of you. I can break down any book about who we are, about people's struggle, about setting goals. But if we don't deal with our internal issues here and how we think, we're going to remain stuck. So in that work, right? Whoa, it's heavy. I mean, heavy shit, man. When we're dealing with individuals who parents have transitioned, who children have transitioned, who spouses have transitioned. Man, we're dealing with some heavy stuff here. Heavy, heavy stuff. Heavy. In order to lighten that load, I must be open and welcoming to how the individual or individuals need me to be. And the truth of the matter is, all of you at one point or another can be that tool for someone. If and only if you are willing to listen and know thyself, right? Because we've all made that attempt. Some of us have gotten stuck, right? Because we don't know exactly how to respond. Sometimes in that sympathy, it weighs down on that individual. That energy is a transfer, right? And it becomes more than an empathetic piece. The sympathy kicks in, right? Then the alignment, and then you become a part of that individual's energy and essence, and it wears. It can wear on you, and some people get frozen in it. It paralyzes them. They don't know how to speak. They just don't know how to do it. And again, there's no shame in it. If you haven't been doing it, it's just not your cup of tea. But in you not knowing how to do it, sometimes when you're going through those heavy spaces, you don't know how to ask for the assistance either. And that's the danger zone. Because then we start to pick up on different cues, right? And some of our therapists who are in the class will know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the cues, the behavioral cues, right? That one may be displaying that you can key in on, right? The avoidance, right? The change in conversation, right? The illness. There's a lot. A lot. And as a person who is at least willing to help, you have to try to at least be a little bit knowledgeable. Just a little. You have to know when to be there and when not to. Heavy stuff, heavy stuff, heavy stuff, heavy stuff. And that's what keeps me grounded. That's what keeps me grounded. Because there's a thing, there's an entity, there's a universe, there's a truth. And that truth, once you connect with it, it uses you. It gives you a certain vibration, certain tone in your voice that becomes a space where people feel safe, where they can re-energize, right? Where they can just pause for a minute and gather themselves. That's what it takes. If we do not have that space where we can gather ourselves for a minute, everything else gets compounded and gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And you begin not to see your way out. It's a very troubling space. Very troubling space. And I just paused for a minute. I said, you know what? Let me concentrate on these DMs. Let me concentrate and listen to the voice messages. Let me really read messengers and all. Let me really see what it is. What can I do? What am I able to say through my practice to let this individual know that they're not alone? Right? Because again, when they're going through these traumatic events, I mean, it's very difficult to find a smile, very difficult to find a laugh, very difficult to breathe. So they may not want to hear me talk about no rap shit. They may not want to hear me get on somebody because politically they're dumb. They may need me to be in a specific frame. Right? So, keys to listen, to watch, to pick up on these things. And then to kind of pull the resources together, kind of pull everyone else in on it. Indirectly, because again, we don't speak, right, about individuals' personal issues, outside of this space. We just don't, right? We follow, we're going to be professional. We follow HIPAA laws. We follow, specific codes. But indirectly, we can allow the class to understand that, yeah, she's going through it. He's going through it with you. We're all going through it. May not be as heavy for each of us as it may be for specific individuals, but we're all having a little taste. And I'm telling you that from my point, from my perch, from me being in it. I'm telling you for an absolute fact. For an absolute fact that there are people in your class that's, mustering up enough, to sit for, 40 minutes to an hour, to hear, to engage, to talk, to speak, to be distracted just a little bit, not from the work, from life, but distracted from that pain, from that space that they're trying to fall into. We cannot allow each other to fall into those spaces because it's very dark. It can get dark. It can get dark. And for each minute, for each hour, for each day that it gets dark, man, it takes that much more, at least, to bring someone up out of it. So we don't want them to fall into that. We don't. Because there's man, listen, there's some individual who grieve for years, for decades. There is no way to measure the impact when that happens. There has not been a science, there's not been a scientist, there's not been a practitioner that can tell you this is the time. This is the amount of time. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. But you can, right? Give treatment, right? Give care to specific cues that you see, right? You can keep people sort of engaged. Even if it's in the activity of talking and speaking and how are you doing today, right? To kind of bring them back and to keep them in a balanced space. And that's what we have to do for one another. We never, ever, ever know what each other is going through. And since we don't know, we need to, again, right, treat others how you want to be treated or need to be treated. Yes, grief is never ending. You just take it 1 minute, 1 day at a time. It's true. That's absolutely true. And I speak that all the time. Like I said, I lost my mother. We are going on 18 years now. And that emptiness, that pain, that doesn't go away. Doesn't go away. You learn to manage it. You learn to handle it. But it doesn't go away. It can't. How? Unless, again, there was no contact, right? There was limited love. Right? There was a disruption in the message, in the bond. Then you can do that. Because now you build up default. But when there's love, when it's intense, when it's genuine, that grief goes nowhere. Because as human beings, we feel cheated. And it doesn't matter if you're a child and lost a parent, or if you have a parent all the way until you are a grandparent and such. Doesn't, what's worse? None of it. Because if you have them around that long, you want them along for the duration, right? If it's been cut short, you're going to feel cheated. So that grieving is all through there. How? How do you respond to it? How do you respond to it? A lot of that is what therapy has become, on what it is, right? Before it became a cash cow for folks, before it became commercialized, before it became something that is satire, right? The world of therapy was taken very serious. There was an intent, right? There was an intent to be helpful. There was an intent to not cure, right? But stabilize and allow people that little room. But now it's, how much do you have? What insurance do you have? Take this pill. It's all over the place. So what do one have to look forward to, right? Or what does one do knowing that, right? Knowing that, oh, that's not my particular lane. But most of my elders, most of the scholars that I follow were doctors, right? These were, Dr. Clark, right? These are individuals who, I sat at their ankles like, oh my goodness, right? Because again, how? How do we heal a people? How do we charge a people up if we're not coming from a mental space? If we're not coming from a space here? Here begins everything. How you believe is how you physically manifest. So if I speak wellness from here, right? Then I must manifest that. You gotta walk that. So when people are in these dark spaces, these spots where, it seems no one else can reach them, your comrade got to come in and kind of shake things up a little bit or settle things down. That's where we help each other the most. You carried anger many years and it made you ill. Oh yeah. Anger will do that. Anger will do that. Definitely. Definitely. You understand that? Anger will paralyze you. It will raise your blood pressure, will cause migraines. It can also stop your heart. And there are cues around anger. Once you know what triggers you, and once you know your cues, you can actually manage. Can't cure it. There's no cure for anger. It's a natural emotion. But you can respond. You can figure it out. And how you respond, what you do, how to de-escalate can cure you of all the elements that you create. But how does one deal with it when grief sets in? And grief triggers, right, an angry response. See the layers, see the pattern? It gets, again, my work is not light at all. At all. Trust me, at all. This is every day. Every day. I know for a fact that there are professionals that make upwards of 200, 300, man, probably 400, 500 grand a year, don't have as many high impact individuals that I have for free, mind you. Let's not get it twisted. Get it twisted. YouTube ain't cost y'all shit. Anybody. All right? Guarantee that I get it on a regular basis. So, you know, it's been a long week already. Been a long week already. Hold on, what's that, Rick? If you even get the 3 days, I work with a guy, hold on, who recently lost his father. And he and other workers could go to his funeral, but you had to clock out. I don't know how he's grieving through it. Well, when it comes to work or career, right? Some career are so impactful that it's an actual distraction, right? And that's how they, you know, they just go through the motions. Many of them are not really there. That's how they work through it. Hampton's mom, people can be strong in many areas and be weak with anger. Not something you want to be, but sometimes you just don't know any better. Once you know your weakness, you can do your best to manage it. But anger isn't a weakness. Anger isn't a weakness. And I have to express that to everyone, everybody that's in class. As an anger management specialist, I'm telling you, many have a misconception, and I'm telling you, don't even know what it is. You don't. Every time I begin a class, every time I begin an assessment, I ask people, what is anger? And they don't have a clue. They give you everything about what they think it is, but not what it actually is. And there's no weakness when it comes to any of your emotions. All of our emotions are there and it is needed. The weakness comes in the response. The weakness comes from not knowing how you're going to respond. But anger's there. Everybody gets anger. Everybody. Dogs get angry. Lions, tigers, bears. Everybody gets angry. It is a natural emotion, but it is not an initial emotion. Anger is a secondary emotion. Secondary. Which means something has to trigger it. There's an underlying emotion there that triggers it. Grief can trigger anger. All day. Grief can trigger anger, which is why we protest. Salute, no doubt. Much appreciated for the green screen. Stephon Clark, right? Okay? With this, that's why you protest, right? The grief, the trauma from seeing somebody lynched causes you to be angry. You dig? That right there. But what's under the grief? How do you know what grief is? You had to feel that. You had to experience it. What was the experience like prior? What is your conditioning? What do you know about grief? Before that comes what? The grief builds up fear and sadness. So the fear, the sadness, the grief trigger, bomb, anger, or sadness, depression. All that, all that. It can go right there. Now, how, what are your cues that lets you know you're angry? What do you know? What cues do you have? If you don't know your cues, you don't know what's going on with you, your response to anger can cause you a whole bunch of consequences from others and self-inflicted consequence, right? Like the Queen Comrade said, she was angry and she was getting ill. It made her ill. So what are we doing? How are we assisting our people if we're ignoring them? If we choose to find ourselves engaged in lifestyles which really have no meaning, or is a perceived meaning, right? Right? I want to be a rap star. As if the rap star has meaning, significant meaning. You dig? Oh, I want to be a baller. How? How do you assist? What is your purpose? How do you give purpose? So when I'm in the work, I can't be fake in the work because I'm playing with life. I'm playing with time and space. So where are we going at? What's the direction? What's the end goal? What's the end goal for the service provider? What's the end goal for our people? What is the end goal when somebody is laying it on you heavy? They may not have an expectation. They may just be laying it, crying, giving it to you, trying to push that energy out. What is your expectation as a service provider, as a comrade, as a general, as a brother? What is your expectations of yourself when people are trusting you with that? You see? How do you build others up? How do you pick them up? Because we're not dealing with petty things. I don't deal with petty shit. I don't deal with petty shit. I just don't. I have a list of people that's going through heavy shit. How do we get them up? That is the greatest thing you can do for anyone. That's the best thing. To give them their legs back. That's what I do on a daily basis. On a daily basis. So if it seems as if I'm not going to be on, I might not be. I'm telling you, I'm committed to the work. Committed to the work. And a lot of times the political stuff have to, take a seat. I'm just being honest. They gotta take a seat. The going in has to take a seat because there are people who reached out. And you gotta get it. You have to know that. We don't own this. I don't know how many times y'all gonna hear me say it and how many times I have to say it. We don't own this. We don't own time and space. We're responding to it accordingly based on how we inherited, based on what we were taught. That's it. We do not own it. We don't own people at all. We own ourselves. We own our response. Now, how we process this thing, this life, right? This information, because that's all that it is. Information. Somebody spit information into us through the knowledge to how we're catching up to this thing called technology and how we're only catching up to our true self. Okay? Because if somebody informs you of a certain thing, right, when you are a child, then that's just what you're going to believe. Whether it's true or not, you're going to believe it, right? Take Dave Chappelle and the blind Klan member. There's science behind that shit. Okay? It's information. The information that was put into this blind Klan man who thought he was white. Okay? Now you can think you Muslim. You can think you're Hindu. You can think you're agnostic. Anything. Based on the information you received and processed and put in. At one time, we was all very, very off course because somebody or us ourselves have read and we believed something. Right? So that's what we're here. We're here. We're information. Whatever you put in here is what you will become. is exactly what you're going to become. So if you want to be a motherfucker, you're going to be a motherfucker. Straight up. If you're going to be a bastard, you're going to be a bastard. If you're dumb, you don't put no information in your computer, then that's it. You're going to be a dummy. But if you put honor in here, if you put integrity, if you put love and humility, patience for others and yourself, strength and power, you put it in here. You tweak it, you work it out. You look for any flaws and damage in it. You put that in there. That's what you will become. So if you put in here that you're going to service your people, then that's the information that you're going to put in and spit out. That's how you're going to manifest it. So damn it, if somebody's down, you got to know how to help them. You have to know how to speak that. Get them up. Understand what you're going through and what you're feeling. But you are here. How are you going to respond to life? I had to think about it. For years and years and years, I always said, man, if something ever happened, I couldn't even think about living without my moms. Like, what? That shit is unheard of. Never thought that I would ever see it or ever be able to do it. Because that is what you're taught through your peer group, through your information, through what you're seeing and thinking and feeling. But no. Your information shows you something different. When that time comes, you will then understand that you have the tools to keep it moving. You have to. You have no choice. I had no choice. No choice. Mother died, brand new baby. What are you going to do? I can't fold. This baby's looking at me. You can't pout, cry. Brand new baby right here. Life is right here. What are you going to do? Still on parole. What are you going to do? Life is here. It is in your face. How do you respond in the face of trauma, calamity? You have to move. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean that you're loving anyone any less. Doesn't mean you won't feel guilt. But you can't sit in it. You cannot bask in it. Process it and find other ways and find help to get you to moving. And throughout this pandemic, we done seen it. This is something many of us have never seen. We haven't seen so much trauma in one given space and time. I know I haven't. And I lived through all type of eras. Crack era, mass prison incarceration, all that. Lived through a time where I was losing homies left and right. A time. Never have I seen it like this. Ever. However, I cannot use information from the 70s, 80s, and 90s and think that it's going to fit 2.5 decades into a new millennium. That is where the difference is. How do we respond to that? What do we tell people? What do we allow them to tell us? Again, what is your purpose? Why are you here? Why are you here? Many others are gone. Many others are gone. Why are you here? It is not you're just here. You made it through. You're still making it through. We are service. We have to be of service to each other. So that's what I'm here for. That's what I do. That's what I do. Okay? Salute, Third Eye. Much appreciated. The super chat. Yeah. So we have to, well, excuse me, at least I have to continue doing what I'm doing. And be consistent. You're gonna laugh. Yeah. You're gonna see humor in our pain, in our struggle. Yeah. You're gonna see angry responses in our pain, in our struggle. But you're going to see healing. You're going to see love. You're going to see support. And if you don't respect it and don't know how to reciprocate, then this is not the class for you. Just ain't. Just ain't. I'm serious. Because it's deep. Oh, it's deep over here. It's deep. We building each other up. And I sleep good at night. I sleep real good at night. Knowing that fact that I, damn it, saved lives every day. Every day. So if you see me not going on for a day or some hours, know I'm deep into work. Know that. Know that. Or I'm knee deep in it. And for everybody who is in class and is going through a heavy time, know that is going to pass. Trust and believe it's going to pass. I can guarantee you that. If we don't know nothing else, we know time runs, doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And that empty space, that pain you feeling, that shit gonna pass too, unless you grab onto it. You got a choice. You can let that shit go, little by little, or all at once, or you gonna hold on to it. And if you hold on to that pain, I guarantee you it's gonna take you out. Guarantee you that shit. Keep holding on to pain. Keep holding on to untruths, misconceptions, technology. Keep holding on to that shit. Guarantee you it's going to take you out. You got a choice. Ease it up, let it go. Look for truth and health. Or transition with them. But it's going to pass. I guarantee you. I'm telling you. It's going to pass. tough times don't last. It's going to pass. What are you going to do to get it out? Just a little bit quicker. Just to push it out. A little bit. I gotta find a way to get it out. Gotta find a way to get it out. And therapy is one. All right? So, like I said, I have a very, very rough last few days. Because that's from immediate contact with a specific client base and also watching and observing everything that's going on around us. And figuring out what words to use to get people to understand where we could be, so that shit don't affect us as much. You know? That's where it's at. Yeah. I go through it, went through it today. I got a ticket for nothing. It's like, really? 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 And the young brother, right? Young melanated man said, well, you got it. I could have gave you this, but I gave you that, and you got it. Right? I wanted to punch him right in his goddamn head. You don't know what I got. But I said, you don't know. You don't know, youngin', what you're doing as a melanated man. Think is you just giving out tickets. That ticket could have pushed me over the edge. I could have been financially bankrupt. You don't know that. You in the hood, that's your occupation. But this ain't the time for me to teach you that. You dig? That's another. I'll see him again. You dig? So yeah, let me do what I do again. Be of specific service to each other. Oh yeah, he was a clown, but he was a young clown. I had 3 young clowns already this week. 3 of them. One of them really triggered me. Really, really triggered me. I saw it. I saw it, and I was like, whoa. Damn, I've matured. And I saw myself just, it was ugly. And for nothing other than him not knowing how to speak. I asked a very specific question. Specific question. What? Whoa. But I was like, yeah, okay. I can see why things happen to y'all. I can see it. I understand it. It's not right. But I see why people are quick to just do y'all dirty. Y'all do very, very, very nasty dispositions. Very nasty dispositions. So, you know. Yeah. Several youth. But again, when you are of a specific time and space, you know how to, you know how to put your anger management strategies in effect in seconds, milliseconds. It's a practice. You got to know how to do it. because triggers are funny. They'll creep up on your ass quick. Quick. Gotta know how to catch them. That's what anger management is. Knowing when you've been triggered, your physical cues, everything. Gotta know all that quick. Pow! And be able to de-escalate and shut that shit down. Especially when you have that issue, especially when you have been trained to be violent, to be extra. You gotta know, you gotta work that shit. It's a discipline. You really have to work it. But if you don't know it, you don't know yourself, you never had no assessment, you're gonna keep getting into the same dumb shit, the same arguing in the street, or the same arguing at work, or the same, getting locked up, the same. Nah. You gotta know. How you gonna know if you don't get the information? You dig? So that's why it took me so long to come on tonight. Right? Has so many different clients that was dealing with a lot of stuff. And everybody that's dealing with that and having family members and associates and loved ones that are, going through some tough times, that may be transitioning, or these, some of these things that we see on the news and hear about that we have personal connections to. Just know that you can with the right help work through the pain. Just reach out, book your assessments, sessions if you already been assessed, and if not, shit, you have all type of phone numbers and apps and all that. You have 311, got all type of stuff. Candle lighters, this, that. Just reach out. But if you want someone who understand you, you got to come here. Simple as that. You ain't gonna get nobody like me over them hotlines. I ain't on the hotline. They don't mess with me. I'm not on no hotline. You gotta come get me here. Yeah, you won't catch me on 311. They will never direct you here. They like, not that black ass. Nah. He want his people too strong. They gonna give y'all the bootleg shit. They ain't gonna give you me. You can't call and get me on no 311. They gonna send y'all to the bootleg shit. You want that work? Got to come over here, baby. You want that love? You got to come over here to get that. You ain't gonna get that on no hotline. I'll tell you that shit right now. Nah. So again, as always, don't believe in me. Believe in my belief in you. All my it used to be public. Let me not do that. My social media is there. Request ads and follows and all that. Which pained the hell out of me. I had to take it off of public and put it on private. I hate private social media. I think that's the bullshit, but it prevents the non-desirables and the trolls and all that other bullshit from clogging up the space. So again, if need be, reach out. There's no shame in getting help. Well, there's shame being on the news, cuffed up. All right? Looking crazy and shit when you couldn't avoid it. Okay? Salute, peace and power. All right? And stay black. Remain militant. Stay black. You know what all them other people talking about? Stay black. All right?